welcome to the Activation Phase podcast. Joining me today is Tim. I am Jeroen. This is our first episode, so we thought we would start off by saying, why do we play SAGA? Tim, who are you and why do you play SAGA?
Hey there, JP. I played 40k back in for 3 years now. Very not that long a time for tabletop players, and it's a good game. I really like it. But I think Saga is also really good. A good friend of mine introduced me to it like 7 months ago or something, and I really love it. And I collected like 10 armies by now, and I think it's very good. And I love getting new people into the game as well. So that's that. Who are you, JP?
So I've been playing Saga a little bit longer. I started in 2015. I was playing Warhammer Fantasy quite seriously and going to tournaments. And then when Age of Sigmar dropped, that kind of decreased my interest. And like a lot of people at that time, I was looking around for a different game. So I tried Infinity, I tried Kings of War. Eventually, I also started Saga. So this was in when I was living in the US in Houston. And there's quite a large active community at the time. And one of the guys, Russell, was really the driving force between pushing Saga in that region. So big thanks to Russell for being the driving force and getting everyone to play Saga there. So I started off with Anglo-Danes in version 1 and got hooked, and then I've just kind of been adding armies ever since. The main reason for me playing Saga actually is the small size. So once I realized that a Saga warband is about the size of a regiment in Warhammer Fantasy, costs much or significantly less, then I was kind of hooked because the threshold for stepping into a new warband is quite low. You can get something done within 2 or 3 months, or even within a month. Now that my speed painting technique has evolved, and that's just really efficient and it's very enjoyable. Now that I've got some less time to play, I find it very enjoyable just to paint a warband, and then at the same time just listen to podcasts or watch videos on YouTube about the historical aspects of that particular warband. Learn some history about things or people I normally wouldn't really think about. Like I didn't really think about medieval Ireland or the Norse Gaels very much before this. So it was a nice introduction. Obviously, I knew like the Anglo-Danes and the Norman conquest of the UK, but I think a lot of, for some reason, a lot of European history is also very Anglo-centric, maybe because it was well recorded, especially around that time. So kind of branching out and having a look at what was happening in other parts of Europe historically also was very interesting.
I agree. It's very cool. Like it's Saga does a really good job at like combining both the like play and like having fun aspect of a game with the like historical part of the historical war games. To my knowledge, are quite different to Saga. So I think Saga does a really good job of being a fun historical game.
I think the amount of people who are button counters is relatively limited. I think people can really decide how seriously they want to take the history of their warbands. You've got people who are using the Song of Ice and Fire miniatures,
right,
all the way to I guess some people are using the Lord of the Rings. What are they called? The horse people.
I've seen that. Like the Rohirrim, I think.
That's them, all the way to making sure that the insignia and the exact clothing,
the belt buckle,
is correct, and everyone can kind of find their niche, and people are generally pretty relaxed about it. So that's good. And I also think in terms of efficiency, it's amazing because you can paint with a few exceptions. You can essentially paint one warband and use them for 2 or 3 different factions. It's just really efficient to paint one or paint 40 guys and be able to play them so many different warbands and get a completely different experience out of it as well. I find it amazing how versatile something is based on the battleboard abilities. Essentially, everyone's the same. Like a guy with an axe is just a guy with an axe, or a guy on a horse is a guy on a horse. And the interaction with the battleboard just completely changes the way that you want to play them. So I think for me, that was just one of the draws, and also seeing the dice being put on the board. I really
Right.
enjoy the resource management part of it. I'm not always. I find it really difficult, but it's also very enjoyable. So it's like a little puzzle.
It is. It's a big puzzle actually. Like I think it's the hardest part of the game. Like I remember being at tournaments and my brain just exploded after I don't know 2 games because I just kept staring at my dice and I didn't know what to do.
So for me, that's kind of the main reason, and I'd be interested in hearing, since you only started this journey maybe 6 months ago, what you see your future for Saga.
I think you can play Saga for a while because there's so many ages and they're constantly evolving and there's more ages coming out like every year. Um, as like Studio Tomahawks keeps progressing through the times. And I think that's amazing. And there's just so many warbands to collect. Like there's just by now I think there's 61 factions or like 58 or 59 or something. Um, and like every single one of them plays differently, and I think that's amazing. Like I'm a collector and I'm a player, and I think having like the chance to play something differently every time you play without having to pay like a big price for it, I think that's great because I have like I don't know 5 warbands ready to go right now, and I can play them as 15 different warbands without like being bad about it or like power gaming it because that just works with Saga, and I think that's great. So I think I'll stay here for a while.
New books coming out. Even now that Age of Hannibal's been out for almost 2 years now, I think I've
Yeah,
maybe only played 2 or 3 games yet. Obviously, it's still a lot of things to explore. Still haven't played against I believe the Norse Gales in version 2. Even after all these years, it's still a lot of a lot of game left to explore. So it's so it's definitely yeah, it's just one of these things that is incredibly rich in terms of how much is actually there, and that it's just essentially the size of one Warhammer 40k codex for the kind of the age books,
right, right.
and yet it's something that you can keep on playing for such a long time. Or what's the reason that we want to make this podcast? You go ahead.
My main reason is I love Saga, and I don't think there's enough content out there. Like the content there is, I think it's good and it's well done and it's great. But I also think there could be more content, more like I like looking at things very like in detail and look at everything in detail and just have a quick math for myself to see what works and what doesn't work. And also the content that is produced right now always feels like they know the game well or like very well, and I think that's great. But I sometimes it would be cool to hear somebody talk like about their tournament experiences or all that kind of stuff because I think that's very interesting to hear what people do with Saga in like in their life. So that's why I want to talk about Saga and want to talk about Saga with you because you're obviously very experienced. You've gone to like a lot of tournaments. So I think this will be great to talk about. And
I
yes,
I think my reasons very similar. I started my YouTube channel. I don't know 2 3 years ago, exactly for that reason actually, because there at the moment there was just the Northern Tempest podcast, who kind of have a very periodic release schedule, and but it's a very enjoyable
right.
podcast. Um, and Saga Thursday, obviously, with Rog being kind of the grandfather of all Saga content, I guess.
It's like the thing. Yeah.
But except for that, there really wasn't anything regular or anything like that. So it felt like a little bit of a void. Yeah, I tried my YouTube channel. It's I find it really amazing that Rog manages to put out like audio visual content at that frequency. Since yeah, I just find it so difficult to match up the audio with making something visually appealing and everything else. There's a lot of moving parts, and he does it really well. But it also takes an incredible amount of time. So I think first of all, doing a podcast just removes one of those variables where you don't have to worry about the visuals, uh, and you can also focus on the content itself. The way I consume a lot of kind of media is through podcasts, and even if put on YouTube if I'm painting. I generally maybe watch less than 5% of it. Most of the time I'm painting.
Same. Yeah.
It's a gigantic amount of effort that essentially gets wasted. Not wasted, but it's not used to its full potential. So I think the podcast part partially solves that. Other reason is through the through the YouTube channel, it's been an amazing way of reaching out to different people. Generally, people in Europe. This is also how I've met quite a few people from Germany in the SAGA scene there, simply just by. It's kind of strange, but I've had some people come up to me and say, "Hey, I watch your videos." It's just like, okay,
Nice. Nice.
like cool, but like it's really cool. And it's nice to be able to actually reach out and talk to people where you've got a very similar frame of reference or similar interests. So I find that part great. So I think having a podcast as well will kind of help some of that community as well get together. I'm also always amazed about how much is actually going on if you look at Facebook or if you look at the tabletop tournaments, and you just see the tournaments, especially now when people are starting to organize them again, to see them pop up in France or in Belgium or in Germany, and recently there was also one in Italy and some in Spain. So it's really nice to see that. And then also be able to, for example, go to Poland on holiday and just reach out and get a game of Saga during the holiday, and it's just great. You just meet someone you've never met them before. I tell my wife I'm meeting a guy from the internet, and then she's like, "Okay, have fun." And then I
like,
just
not again.
So I just have just meet up with someone I've only contacted through the internet, and we have a great time and have a really good Saga game. It's a good way of using the internet for good as well. So sometimes that's necessary. Speaking of tournaments, you've recently organized your own tournament. So do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. So I am organizing my own tournament right now, and it's going to take place on April 2nd up here in Osnabrück in Germany. And it's the cool thing is, which I really love, it's right next to the Teutoburg forest where Arminius crushed the Varus Legion, like the legions of Varus, which is just so cool. There's this whole scene here, and people don't really know Saga up here, but the whole historical scene is here. Like there's so many cool old Roman sites and all of that, and I think it's amazing to have a historical tournament type thing here, where all the historical stuff happened. So I really love that, and I can't wait for the tournament to actually happen. There's the sign up form was up for 8 hours, I think, and 20 people just signed up instantly. It was so cool. So I hope there's going to be 20 people. We're thinking about making it a 30-player event because people want to play Saga, man. It's so cool. The age of Saga has come.
Indeed. It's all the pent up Saga energy needs to be released now.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're organizing an Age of Vikings tournament. You said it was 20 people. It filled up pretty much instantly.
Yeah.
Given its location as well, because you're slightly to the north of what I would call the Saga heartland of Germany.
Yes,
around Essen.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing. So congratulations there. I look forward to attending that.
Thank you.
I think would you like to? Well, maybe it's a little bit of a shame because it's both a shame and it's great that it filled up instantly. So unfortunately, if you're listening to it now, there probably aren't any places unless it gets expanded.
You gotta be quick.
Yeah, I guess if you pay, you can still get in. If you throw money at the organization, you can buy your way into into it.
Yeah.
Why did you choose the Age of Vikings, and what have you explain your choices, Tim?
Yes, I will. So we chose Age of Vikings because for Germany, at least, that's the biggest age. I think it's probably this way in all of the Saga communities right now, because it's just really good age. Everybody has a warband of that by now. And for our first Saga event, we wanted to make sure that it works. And I've been to Age of Vikings events before, and I think they like they work. People know they work. People like them. They're quite. I mean, they're like basic. I know that, but I think yeah, they're just the standard right now. And for a first tournament and trying to see if our location works and everything is cool, it's really good to like start with something that we know should work or like that we know works. So that's what we chose. Age of Vikings. We really mix it up with the scenarios though. I haven't seen any of these scenarios, or like one of them. I have seen one of them before on any like tournament. But in Germany, it's always been pillage and
Feasting and pillaging is the standard one.
Right,
and
always,
then
yeah.
something in the middle, and then normally Clash of Warlords at the end.
Exactly, and I hate that. I think Clash of Warlords is just, yeah, it's not a great scenario because it's just very stale. Like people don't they don't move or they don't do anything. And also like feasting and pillaging. We've played that a million times by now, and it's a good scenario. Don't get me wrong, but we've played it so much, it's not that great anymore for me. So we chose some different ones. And
which ones did you choose?
Right, that's a very good question, and I don't know the answer because I don't know the English names. I just know the German names. So
I'm going to bring the tournament pack. Oh yeah, okay. So the first game is Desecration.
Yes. The first game is Desecration because I think it's a great scenario. It's really dynamic. People really need like. There's two very important things to do here. Like you need to kill the enemy, and you also need to kill their tokens. Which is great. I think it makes for a really interesting game. The second one is like protect your valuables or something.
It's
right,
prized possessions.
Right, prized possessions, which I also think is a very cool scenario because it's the kind of the only scenario where like need to guard something. It's a asymmetrical scenario, which is super cool. And I think it's balanced enough, or like we think it's balanced enough that you should totally be able to play it on in a tournament setting.
Because, it's the first time I've seen that one as a tournament scenario. So I can't.
Yeah.
I think I played it once, so I definitely need to get some practice in.
Yeah, I've played it before, and it works well. But you like the way the scoring works kind of makes it like it makes it balanced. Obviously, like they tried, and I think it works. But the whole setup is asymmetrical. But I think it's really cool. Like the defender, if he doesn't get his job done, if he doesn't get his cards off the table, like so, the defender has 3 cards and he needs to move them off the table, right? So if he doesn't do that, he'll suffer points. Like he'll suffer like penalties because he didn't do his job. And if the attacker doesn't do his job, then he'll like get penalties. And I think it's very playable in a tournament. And we'll see how it goes. If the like responses or the feedback is, yeah, don't do that again, then we won't. But I think it's really worth a try to not do the same scenarios over and over again and get bored of them. And the third one is change of plans. So we made it about killing the warlord as well. So for tournament points, you get 1 extra tournament point for killing the warlord, just so it's like it really encourages you to go in there and like slaughter as the game as like scenario wants you to anyway. So I think that's great. It has a great dynamic, that scenario, because you need to like what you need to do changes like every now and then, or like at turn 3, 5, and 6. So I think
it's a really balanced. It's also one of my favorite ones where you actually have to have a very well balanced warband. You have to. It's not that you can just capture something at turn 6. You have to constantly be looking out for what you actually need to be doing, and it's also something where you can play to your warband's strength and try and mitigate the opponent's strength as well to avoid that. So I think it's a really good one. It's underrated in terms of something that can be used in tournaments.
Yeah, I think the scoring part is kind of pesky to like have to count at like turn 3, 5, and 6. I think you agree, because it's yeah, you just need to count like 3 times. Like in a usual game, or a normal game, you just need to count once. But it's worth it because yeah, you need to. This is the scenario where you need to plan out all of your 6 turns before you start playing, and I don't know any other scenario that does that. So I think that's great.
It rewards that a lot. But I played this scenario in Belgium, and they actually had a very handy little matrix given to all the players beforehand, so you could just kind of fill it in as you go, so you don't have to remember. Yeah, what did you have on the table in turn 3 or anything like that? So it was
yeah, I'll do that. Yeah,
just giving a scoring sheet beforehand with like turn 3, what how many massacre points did you have? Turn 5, how many
Yeah.
survival points do you have? And then turn 6, I guess you have the conquest points. So
Right.
I think that, and you had like a little handy reminder of how much what exactly counts as well, because that's sometimes a little bit confusing. But yeah, it's a really good one. So that's 3 games, a solid day of Saga gaming going on.
It should be great. I'm like really looking forward to it.
All right, what are your predictions? Who's rocking up to this tournament?
Right, so all the guys from the core of the like German Saga community are definitely coming. Talk to them; they're coming. That's going to be great. Some of them are just really, really good players, and they're going to bring like late Romans again. I know one of them is amazing with late Romans. One of them is going to bring like Umayyads, so that's like old friends, new enemies, which we allow because I think Moors are not insane compared to the Viking faction, so you can totally play with them. That's all right. And the Age of Invasions faction are also they're good. They're really good, but I think they're balanced enough to like be able to play them with the Vikings, so that's cool. And I'm already scared of the veteran players that are bringing like their Joms Vikings. Joms Vikings are huge in Germany, and I don't know why. I haven't seen that anywhere else before.
It's really popular. I think so.
Hey, but what are you bringing?
So I'm bringing my Goths, or I guess my Lombards, if we're doing depending on whether or not the old friend new enemies or just the standard boards get used. So I'm gonna bring them, lots of guys on horses, and lots of just pushing it forward. Especially because it's a 3-hour drive for me, so I'll have to get up. I'll have to get up around 5:30 or something, or leave the house around 5:30. And by the time I get there, it's already I'm already tired. So all I want to do is push things forward. So I've tried like I've tried 3-hour drive, and then also just get into the finesse game with like Welsh or something, and it's just it just doesn't work. So I just need an aggressive faction which I can push forward and just smash face and not think too much about. So the Goths are perfect for that, because they essentially ignore half of the rules anyway in terms of fatigue. So it's perfect.
Yep. Yeah, they are just very, very aggressive, and that just fits very well with your playstyle.
I don't like the waiting game. So
you don't like the boring stuff.
No, I just need to. I didn't drive 3 hours there and then 3 hours back to sit in a corner. So it's not gonna happen. So we need to kill some people. So
right. So JP, talking about sitting and waiting. What can what kind of listeners wait for? What are we going to do next on this podcast?
So we have huge plans, massive.
Right.
But I think given the timing and everything that's going on around kind of Northwest Europe at the moment, we can probably get quite a lot of tournament talk for Saga going on.
Yeah.
We discussed this beforehand. We want to dive into Age of Invasions. I think it's fair to say that we're both quite big fans of that book and the battle boards.
Amazing book. Yeah.
So we've got that lined up. I think we said we're aiming for once every 2 weeks. So we committed to that. Yeah, that's gonna dig into the hobby time. I'm not gonna lie. So
yeah,
it's just a sacrifice that we're gonna have to make, I guess. Hopefully, hopefully we get people excited about Saga and kind of build up a little bit of a community. If we manage to do that, I think we'll have succeeded.
Yeah, it'll all be worth it then. Yeah.
So we're also aiming to make this about half an hour podcast every 2 weeks, give or take, depending on the subject. So we want to keep it short and sweet, and focus on some very specific topics.
That's the plan. Yes. This has been the Activation Phase podcast. Thank you for listening in, and I hope you'll hear us again very soon. Thank you.